All right, I'm going to talk about rumors that may be total nonsense, and certainly quite a bit or quite a few elements here lead me to think it pretty much is, but it does craft an interesting discussion about what the MCU should do, what they should have done, and that sort of thing. But fair warning, there's probably potential spoilers here, as it involves certainly one scooper who's been right on occasion here with rumors about movies and whatnot. And of course, a rumor can be true, it may not be true. Usually it's somewhere in between. And a lot of this with reshoots and all this sort of course, the MCU is notorious for that these days. Odds are a bit of this was true at one time and then no longer is. Of course, there's quite the mess here with what happened with Phase 4 and them trying to develop Kang into their new Thanos, and then the actor portraying him had a scandal. Plus, it's not really on him, I don't think, per se, at least in his performance or what have you. It's just it didn't catch on. People were not all that intrigued with it. Certainly the Quantumania bombed and didn't catch on with the Loki series, although apparently Loki was the most popular of the D+ series of Marvel shows, I guess. I don't know. But not enough. And then, of course, the scandal. So, Hail Mary pass. Robert Downey Jr. returns to portray Dr. Doom. Gee, how's that going to work? Well, obviously, multiverse shenanigans will ensue to give some sort of explanation for all of that. But the problem is there just hasn't been enough groundwork for Dr. Doom for their MCU version of him, regardless of what universe he comes from. And whereas Kang was getting some development here and groundwork, especially in this whole plot strain of multiverse stuff, and that there are terrible consequences for a multiverse. So the idea that they were going to shoehorn this in and just hope that, you know, everybody will show up because it's Robert Downey Jr., and there's a lot to that, and they could just shove it all in and hope it gets MCU back in popularity and they continue on with new movies after they've done all of this. Leading up to Secret Wars, it's certainly thought to have been something of a reboot for the MCU. I still think that's the case, but and if they take that the lesson here is to just have beloved actors keep playing the same role, well, nobody's getting any younger. That's not a long-term plan, you know, and that sort of thing. No, the movie's got to actually be good, you know. So this is a difficult task for them. So one of the things that floats around rumors, this is Holyfield News, and they're claiming that there's these unnamed, untitled Marvel movies that are on the schedule. So, of course, this is the map that he, they, she, whoever presents. And you see the movies that we've already known about. Of course, preceding this would be Captain America, New World Order. I mean, no, not New World, not anymore. Brave New World. And then Thunderbolts follows that. Then you have Fantastic Four, which would be very significant. The deal for Robert Downey Jr. is that he's signed to do the Avengers movies. But I would gather that would include some amount of cameos, and could make a cameo in the Fantastic Four film, perhaps in a post-credit scene or that sort of thing. Or it could be another actor who's the real Doctor Doom, but this is the Doctor Doom who takes over Tony Stark, which in the comics, Doctor Doom has this ability to swap bodies with people. And my guess is that's what you're seeing here. And that by the end of Secret Wars, perhaps Tony Stark takes back his body from Doctor Doom, and he has yet another heroic end, albeit an alternate universe Tony Stark. But if he's just a Tony Stark that went evil, well, I don't know how well that'll go over, but I suppose that's an option as well. But then he really wouldn't be Doctor Doom. He just kind of does the same thing as him. But anyway, so you got this. Then you got Blade, which is one of these poor movies, albeit not reshot to death, and they don't really have time to reshoot it to death if they're going to keep this schedule, but certainly rewritten to death. But he's undead, so it's okay. And multiple directors and all that sort of stuff. Just, and it's been a long, long time in coming, but put him in there and have his guy who fights vampires movie, which you would think wouldn't be that hard, and then perhaps a post-credit scenes where Wesley Snipes as the other Blade shows up. How did he survive Deadpool? Well, so then the mysterious untitled movie appears following Blade, in between Blade and Avengers Doomsday. Now, it's a bit much to think that they could shoehorn and slapjob a movie in for this purpose, or movies that are underway. Now, it was announced early last year, I think it was January or something, that Spider-Man 4 was underway, that they were working on it. And that's, pre-production stuff, script, all that kind of thing. But maybe they've got it. And if they can hit the ground running and they can get going sometime late in the year or next year, maybe by February 2026, they can have a Spider-Man 4 movie, which for Spider-Man's purpose, I would rather just be a Spider-Man movie. Probably the first one they've done for the MCU. I was not fond of the original Spider-Man movies that they did, except for the third one. That one was good. And it ends on a really good note to where he really is Spider-Man by the end there. And so just him fighting one of the classic Spider-Man villains in his movie would be cool. But then, oh boy, at the mid-credits or the end credits, something weird's happening, and he's reunited with the other Spider-Men. And that goes into Doomsday or something of that nature. But leading into, because then suddenly, bam, you're in Avengers Doomsday. I'm assuming there will be telltale signs and cameos and in-credit things, foreshadowing all of this, including the Captain America movie and so on and so forth. They could put that in leading up to it to give some amount of groundwork for this. So then you have Avengers Doomsday, and then following that, this other mysterious one could possibly be the third Doctor Strange film, which narratively speaking would make a lot of sense. There's a back and forth there, not with Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange. They've had some stories together, and most notably for Secret Wars itself, this being the 2005 Secret Wars, not the original, where Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom were pretty much in cahoots on a plan to save the multiverse, which results in the creation of Battleworld. So maybe something of that nature will take place as well, and maybe a significant cameo from Robert Downey Jr. appearing in Doctor Strange as he has to, and hopefully they do flesh out the thing with him and Clea that they teased at the end of his second movie. And what he has to do to get rid of his third eye and stuff like that. But it culminates into multiverse shenanigans yet again. And oh no, the universe is collapsing and whatnot. Now it may take place before, even though it follows it, but before Avengers Doomsday. But if Doctor Strange is in the dark dimension and not even a part of the regular universe or multiverse or whatever, may not even be aware of what's going on in Avengers. But I would think he's going to be in Avengers, so it may be one of those things where it's kind of like the second Ant-Man movie took place, before Endgame, or Infinity War rather, and that sort of thing. So it may work like that. Then you go into Avengers Secret Wars, of course, and it's all on, big battle. That'll be the more expensive of the two Avengers movies, I imagine. And there you go. The multiverse is restored at that point, but different. And probably that's it for Robert Downey Jr. Being back in the MCU, I would guess. And then whoever's playing the real Doctor Doom goes on into a following Fantastic Four movie sometime down the road, provided Fantastic Four doesn't flop. If it's first steps and not first flop, then it should work. The other two mysterious movies, these you can pretty much gather this is true. These slots have been reserved for whatever movies that follow. There was supposed to be an Armor Wars movie, and that might be one of them if they're still going to do that with War Machine instead of Iron Man. But if they restore Iron Man, then, well, maybe it'll be Iron Man. I don't know. And the other one, I don't know, possibly a Thor movie, something of that nature. But as far as, or it's Doctor Strange and Spider-Man afterwards, after all of this. But narratively speaking, it would have been better if there was certainly the Doctor Strange movie and Spider-Man. But for Spider-Man, I would rather he just have a Spider-Man adventure. A post-credit scene involving multiverse stuff is fine. But if they make it to where once again he's back with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and all that through a whole, you save that for Avengers Doomsday. So yeah, that might work out. So what exactly was possible here as to what happened? So you got to look at what was the original plan. According to My Time to Shine, hello. The plan for Kang was, in this film, the TVA began gathering anchor beings from across the multiverse, similar to Deadpool, believing that they are the only ones powerful enough to defeat the Council of Kangs. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were the anchors for their respective realities, while Tom Holland's Spider-Man served as the anchor for Earth 616. The movie was intended to be smaller in scope compared to Secret Wars, focusing more on Holland's Peter Parker, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and other anchors like Nick Cage's Ghost Rider. More memoraries and stuff, but nevertheless, it's multiverse, so you throw some more guys from past movies in, and of course, teaming up Spider-Man and Wolverine would go a long way, be very popular. So the plan was for all of them to ultimately fail, leading to the collapse of the multiverse and Kang's creation of Battleworld. This would then set the stage for Secret Wars, where other MCU characters and additional multiverse figures would converge on Battleworld. And then you probably have more of the original X-Men would show up. Which version, the First Class or the originals? I don't know, or maybe both. I don't know. And hey, Nick Cage might show up in that too, and stuff like that. Plus, other people, they did it with Channing Tatum being a Gambit, so maybe they'll finally get Tom Cruise to be Tony Stark in that one. Or maybe he becomes the real Doctor Doom because they swap bodies, But anyway, things like that could have occurred there. So my guess is a bit of this will remain in place, and but it'll just be Doctor Doom running the show instead of Kang. So that business of reuniting with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, that's fine for Doomsday and a movie like that. But if they could get a Spider-Man film in between that, well, that would be pretty cool. So now that the Kang thing's not happening, the movie's been renamed Doomsday. What's Doctor Doom's plan? Well, My Time to Shine, hello, doesn't have a whole lot of detail, but he says it presents basically the motivation of Doom, and that Doom isn't truly evil. He believes he's saving the multiverse from incursions. According to his twisted logic, the only way for the multiverse to survive is to unify all universes in one place, Battle World, under his rule. He sees this as the sole path to ensuring survival for everyone, which is basically the plot of the Hickman Secret Wars. So, probably a lot of credibility to this, that this is the motivation of Doctor Doom. My guess is, just for the purposes of chronology and narrative, is that Doctor Doom moves in on Kang, wipes him out, and takes over his plan, as he sees it's the only way to save all of reality from the mess. Because you follow what happened. Well, you got stupid female Loki killed the one who remains, and that opened up the multiverse again. And so now you got all these Kangs running around. And how did they resolve that the first time around? Well, one Kang killed them all, and that ended up being him. Now you've got Loki running the show, so Doom's going to have to deal with Loki as well. So maybe it just comes down to Doom and Loki, and Doom topples Loki and achieves Battle World instead of the Kangs. But I think the Kangs could be anybody. You could just recast them and all that, and still that that this was part of the narrative. Maybe not all that necessary, because not enough people saw because all the details, because the Loki show gave more groundwork than the Ant-Man movie did. So I guess it doesn't really matter at that point, but there's just not enough groundwork there. But if you have these two secret movies for leading to Secret Wars, perhaps that's how they're going to do this. Wait and see, of course. But if this is possible, that they do have these slots reserved for these movies they're putting together, that might smooth out the problems a little more there and have it go. Spider-Man would be more able to be underway because, again, they announced they're working on it. I haven't heard a lot about Doctor Strange, but it could be the same situation. And so they might have that set up as well. But it's, it's a mess of a position to be in, but it's where they are. Chris Gore has revealed, from Film Threat and all that, that he's heard from insiders that the woke crew have been fired, and maybe there's some hope for MCU to just put out entertaining movies. That's all you got to do. Just do that. I don't know how great they'll be, but if they're fun, then yeah, you pretty much won the battle there. And eventually you might get to some that are actually pretty good on Winter Soldier level, that kind of thing, down the road, perhaps. But so maybe a slight sparkle of hope for MCU. As for Lucasfilm, it's too late. So it's too bad. So some elements of this I think are true. The squeezing these movies in between, probably not. And it's unfortunate, because I think that would have been a better plan, but it's, of course, there's not enough time left to do it. But maybe they've been working on it all along, and they can do it. So there you go. But following Secret Wars, more than likely, movies like certainly Spider-Man and maybe Doctor Strange would be the films that would follow the aftermath. And then you got to deal, and probably a Doctor Strange movie would deal more with, what is the aftermath of a post-Secret Wars world where the multiverse is restored, but different. Yeah. Okay, again, apologies, I am under the weather, but I don't know. I got to make a video, You're supposed to do that. It's the law. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll do it again soon.